banner sways and falls in the horror-haunted gloom. A scarlet dragon rustles by, borne on winds of doom. In heaps the shining horsemen lie, where the thrusting lances break, and deep in the haunted mountains, the lost black gods awake. Dead hands grope in the shadows, the stars turn pale with fright, for this is the dragon's hour, the triumph of fear and night.
And we're live.
Yes.
Hello and welcome to all the men and women of the West, and to special welcome to World of Conan.
Hello, the barbarian horde. Hails.
Hail Conan. And
Hails to the brothers as well.
thank you. And I'm so glad your health is better.
Yeah, it wasn't much fun after the whole right after Christmas you got sick. All of our family was sick, everyone with the flu. But yeah. But
Sharing is caring.
But now it's much better.
We have Finnish relatives who all got sick at the same time. So it was a little funny. But they got sick with a flu just like you did. None of our French relatives did, only our Finnish ones, which was pretty funny. Anyways, we've got Lord of Lek, who's asking if we're down in Essex County. No, we're not from Britain. We're from Canada. We're in Canada.
Yeah, Canada, Finland.
Both Nordic in a way.
Oh, definitely.
One a bit more so culturally than the other.
Yeah.
Which is sad, because I wish we were a little more Nordic culturally where we are. It'd be a little more fun. All right. And the story of Hour of the Dragon is going to be the topic today.
Indeed.
And
Chapter 3 and 4.
Yep, as the thumbnail, which you were so thoughtful as to provide, shows. And these were two really good chapters. And there's something that Howard did with the squire, describing the action. I'm just going to plunge on in.
Yeah.
He does this thing where the squire is describing to Conan, like, look at what's going on. This is what's happening. He's just doing a blow by blow, which this is something that I noticed when I was starting to read Canterbury Tales a little while back, and that I've noticed in a lot of vintage books, like you have Ivanhoe and Treasure Island, which both have at two different points characters who describe action scenes to Jim Hawkins and I forget who it was in Ivanhoe, respectively. And this is an old kind of storytelling technique. So what Howard is doing here, I'll actually say this is something that carried over into fantasy, like Dragonlance and other series, but Skiat IVC is that Conan, what Howard did here is still very unique. It's paying homage, it seems, to older stories. And now I just remembered, Chrétien de Troyes has a scene where there's, I think, an older action scene by Percival, I think it is, who describes it to someone. So it's something that's pretty has a long tradition. in literary culture. And
it does seem like it.
Yeah. This, and Howard's no stranger to it, because there are short stories of his where Conan describes action, or someone else describes action to him from like previous battles and whatnot. And I just noticed Lord of Lek. Yeah, we're in Northern Ontario. Je peux probablement placer l'accent près du là. Yeah, Northern Ontario. It's a big territory, or a chunk of land. And we're from way up north.
So let's set the stage. Last chapter, Conan was taken out basically by a child of darkness, and he cannot himself be in the battle, so to say, and they choose someone to impersonate the king to get the army to fight. And this chapter then proceeds to tell how that battle goes. If anyone is at least a bit familiar with this story, you know that it doesn't go that well for Conan.
Yeah, which here, by having Conan eliminated from the first and losing his strength temporarily, Howard is kind of showing that Exaltaton is a threat like no other, because no other villain has ever done this to him.
Yeah, it's everything is orchestrated. When you read this chapter, you see also that he's orchestrated every bit of way how the battle even goes, and he places a spell on Valannus, who leads Conan's armies. Even everything is orchestrated down to a T. So it's not good. It's not good.
And let's be honest, without Exaltaton, Nemedia could not have won this battle.
Yeah, it pretty much looks like it, because it's the spell obviously doing, but and then it's of course the experience of Conan to know not to advance and when to advance, which someone who's less experienced might not have.
Yeah.
But that all plays into Exaltaton's spells as well here. So it's like a mix of two things here. It seems like, at least to me, inexperience plus the spells to break Valannus' mind.
Yeah. What Howard's also doing here is something I think after Star Trek came out, we'd probably term as and I don't mean this disrespectfully towards Conan, but he kind of warped Conan to prop up Exaltaton as a threat, and stated, showing us that this is someone that Conan can't quite defeat yet. And he's kind of putting as the inciting force almost for Conan's defeat. It has to get very, very bleak before it'll get brighter. And storytelling wise, this catastrophic defeat that the Aquilonians have is reminiscent of, the situation of Gondor, Arnor, and Rohan at the time of the start of the Lord of the Rings. So, they're at the lowest point. There's almost no chance of victory. They're recovering. And what happens in Lord of the Rings is that Gandalf basically says we have to persevere beyond hope and whatnot, and rise above the present situation no matter what, because we have to hope beyond hope almost. I'm not sure that's the term he used, but I think that's kind of what the situation Howard's trying to kind of paint here. A situation where Conan has kind of met his match and is in a situation where it's almost unwinnable after this, because, I'll just race to the end of the chapter in a way and say, spoiler alert, Conan loses the battle and is captured.
Yeah.
But this paints a very bleak image for the reader. Like it tells us, how is Conan supposed to win and triumph? And I think the Dark Knight Rises, which does a good job also kind of exploring this sort of situation when it, not in so many words, but basically, tells Batman, you have to go beyond the rage, go beyond your current strength, and find a new motivation, in a way, in order to conquer Bane and the hole he was tossed into. But that's
no wonder Conan hates magic.
Yeah. Well,
it seems like it's the only thing that can take him down.
Yeah.
It's the magic stuff.
And he does a great job taking him down at the start. Well, at the start of this chapter and at the end of the last one. And that said, his squire easily gets carried away by the initial advantage that Aquilon.
At first it looks good.
Yeah.
Victory. It even goes good. Victory seems possible, but then that unforeseen event takes place. The cliffs, as the title of this chapter, the cliffs reel. So the cliffs fall down on all of the 5,000 knights. Basically, the backbone of the whole Aquilonian army, the elite
the
troops.
Flower of their chivalry.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say hello to Stephanie Frederick, who's an old sub of this. She's over from Indie Geeks channel, and she crossed over here some time ago. So welcome.
Welcome.
And the situation also reminds me a bit of just looking at the language and like how you described it as this was the backbone of Aquilonia's military. It reminds me of I don't know if you're familiar with the battle from French and English history, Crécy or Agincourt. And these two battles saw the flower of French chivalry destroyed by the English archers. And it was a catastrophic set of losses in two different parts of the 100 Years' War, which led the French to believe that victory was impossible. The first time after the set of losses, they resorted to Scottish military tactics of hit and run under Bertrand du Guesclin. The second time, Jeanne d'Arc showed up, and they basically just relied on her to win every battle until, she got thrown away by the monarchy. But the situation here is kind of similar in that we have the flower of Aquilonian chivalry destroyed. And, to a tactic that's quite dirty and that's unpredictable. And I just realized the Great Line banner that Conan has is, I think, lost in the crash. So that could be a little symbolic.
Yeah, of his kingship. Yeah.
Yeah. It's at that point that he loses his kingship.
Yeah.
And I really like that. This is
I thought this chapter was really well written. Very descriptive, evocative. You feel like you're really in the battle.
Yeah,
it's well described. All the advances, and then the shock of the cliffs reeling, and stamping out all the knights. And I thought it was good that the spells are played in here, because as someone who thinks like one of his good knights, Valannus, you would think he had a bit sense to hold back at points. At points I understand, battle frenzy, but still at some points you would hold back a bit. But that's where the spells come into play, that his mind was tampered with, and he made to lose reason and to attack, just attack. So I think it's a well played story element in this, I think, because otherwise I would question like why put Valanus here to lead, because this guy seems stupid. I mean, Conan even says fool here in this chapter, like fool, grown Conan. It may be a trick. He should hold his position. By dawn, Prospero will be here with Poitanian levies.
And
like so.
Yeah, and there's something there that quote reveals to us. Typically, like when we've presented on Conan to even some Tolkien fans, we've been questioned on why do you defend Conan? He's just a big dumb brute. But here it shows, no, tactically he's very skillful, because here he's preferring to err on the side of caution. And he's capable of very quick strategic thinking and decisions like that. And so he's like, we should not advance here. We need to hold our position till Prospero arrives to back us up, at which point, that would mean certain doom for the media. He's analyzed the situation. He already knows how to get around the trick, but he doesn't just always rush ahead like a lot of media portrays him as doing. He sometimes just prefers to pull back and react very patiently. He's, in terms of strategy and tactics, I'd almost compare him to Aragorn, but also to Theoden, the old king who dies on the Pelennor fields, who was capable of very, very deep strategic thinking. But there's another quote I would draw our attention to, which is a little earlier. Crom, Ymir, and Mitra. Crom being the mountain chief god, the chief deity of the Sumerian faith. Ymir is from Norse mythology, the great giant before time itself, whose body was torn apart and used to create the 7 of the 9 worlds, I believe, and by Odin, Vili, and Ve, the 3 primordial gods of Norse mythology. And Mitra is basically a stand-in for a Sky Father type of godlike figure. So we have here 3 very different kinds of deities. But Ymir in Howard's world is more like Odin, and Crom is more, in some ways, like Hades. In some ways, so we have 3 very different types of deities, kind of called upon here. And we had discussed in private, like a short time ago, how, and I'm going to do a video on this, but how Conan seems to always cry out, Crom, by Crom. And this always presages something bad that's going to happen. And it's his curse, but because he's calling his deity out to his deity and whatnot. It's a little funny, but here I wonder if to an extent because I'm not saying Howard never wrote with predetermination in mind. Tolkien kind of liked to explore the idea and flirt with it, but never fully commit to it. I wonder if we were to read this like we would a Tolkien piece of text, if we might not read into it that maybe part of the cliff's reeling is also a doom in a way, indirectly sent to Conan because he's called out to Crom in vain. I'm not saying Zaltotin worships Crom or is an agent of Crom, just that Conan hits his lowest point because he has angered Crom by calling out to him when he shouldn't have.
Similar to Troy, with Odysseus saying, I did this without the help of...
you mean Achilles.
Without the assistance of...
the gods. And you have Hector at one point who says, how many legions does the sun god command? And his father tells him, do not speak so disrespectfully of the gods. Yeah, it's that sort of thing where it's that kind of ancient mindset. I don't know what you think of that. This may be also...
I mean, it's an interesting idea, but
it would have happened no matter what.
Yeah, I don't think Crom would bother to single out Conan
here
to bring disasters upon him. I don't know. He seems kind of like a very disinterested god. Like I don't think he much cares.
Well,
it's yeah.
I'm going to agree with you, but I'm also going to say it can be an interesting way to read the text.
Yeah, it depends kind of if you take in account the extra stuff that's written. I mean, other authors besides Howard, like Björn Nyberg, who has the what was the book called? But anyway, when Conan actually meets Crom, then you kind of see that Crom has a liking to Conan, and he has basically in a sense preserved Conan and championed Conan and blessed him, and he will not permit him to die by magic, but he wants him to fight on.
I think that
it kind of depends, like what you take into account. If you take into account more than Howard, then it kind of.
I'm going to say that I think even in Howard's literature, Crom probably favors Conan, but if he sends dooms, it might be either in a temper or it would probably be to test Conan and push him to his limits. Because the best kind of sword Crom would want would be one tempered and forged in the deepest fires.
How many champions can Crom have? I mean, if you think it's just Cimmeria, you know, there's not a lot to choose from. I mean, Conan is his best specimen. Why would you throw that away?
Well, I think it'd be more like he wants to test him continuously and forge him into the best possible warrior he could be. And which begs the question, why?
Yeah, Conan does invoke Mitra, like overall a bit as well in all the stories.
Yeah,
which is interesting.
I think he converted a little to that faith over time. Well, he's a champion of Mitra as well, because in Phoenix on the Sword, he's favored by Mitra.
Exactly, and he gets help from Mitra, and then one of his best friends is the priest of Mitra, who helps out Conan a lot. So it makes sense. I mean, in a sense, Mitra did a lot more for Conan than Crom ever did. So if you think about Phoenix on the Sword.
Yeah. Oh, just noticed the chat continued. You guys are fun to talk to in Indie Geek Chat. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. You're always such fun to talk to as well. Half the people out in Indie Geeks Chat are typically smarter than I am and way more fun than I am. Oh, we've got a great comment. Crom's favor is watching usually, and that's more than he gives most. He gave all Sumerians his gifts at their birth to do with as they can. Yeah. Bravery. That's all he gives them. And it is theirs to do with as they wish, to either triumph or lose along the way.
It would have been interesting if Howard would have, I mean, I guess he didn't get to that point, but, write a bit about like the end game of Crom, and like what is his purpose, like what is he trying to accomplish in the end? Will there be like a Ragnarok kind of event? Who is his enemy? Who will he fight? And all that stuff. It's not necessary, but it would be interesting, in my opinion.
I wonder if Howard did write it, but because there's a lot of documents and notes that Howard wrote that were lost, I think, after his death, it seems. And I read somewhere that a lot of the documents and quite a few stories of his were lost. And I wonder if maybe he had written about it and it was lost.
Like, maybe it's in the letters. I haven't read the letters yet.
I haven't finished reading the letters. I hope so.
There's quite a few letters.
So if anyone knows if there's anything like that, tell us in the comment section or in a reply to our community posts, and either on World of Conan's channel or ours, and we'll exchange that info. Yeah, I'm very curious about Crom. He's a fascinating deity. Probably one of my favorites in all of literature, because he's such a mysterious figure.
Yeah, he should cheer up a bit.
Yeah, a grim
Dude's a god. Dude's a god, and he's like, it's like
he's always frowning.
Yeah, come on, cheer up.
And we get to, well, in my notes, I'm currently reading. Yeah, you already mentioned Valanus had charged, and there's one note linguistically about Valanus and Valerius. They both have Val in their names at the start. Val in the Norse language meant death, like Valhalla, Hall of the Sun. Yet Valerius, Valanus would probably translate in Nemedian or Aquilonian respectively to the valorous one, very likely. If we consider, I'm just saying because valorous means courage. And I think that Howard's kind of cracking a bit of a double-edged joke there about, the slain, but also valor in a way. So, because he's someone who did often play with names a little, I've noticed. And I don't know what you make of him with these names.
Oh, no, I didn't really think about it.
Okay. I had noted it down and just thought, oh, wow, this is really interesting stuff with Valorous and Valinus. Maybe, I wonder if in the Aquilonian and in the Nemedian language, the names are essentially the same. If maybe, it's essentially Valerius versus Valerius in a way, which would beg a bit of a philosophical question here. But anyways, that aside, just the way Howard has described the squire, describe the situation, like the cliff's real, shrieked the squire. Ah, gods, what is this? The river foams out of its channel, and the peaks are crumbling. The ground shakes, and horses and riders in armor are overthrown. The cliffs are falling. The cliffs are crumbled. They have thundered down into the defile and crushed every living creature in it. I saw the lion banner wave an instant amid the dust and falling stones, and then it vanished. Ha! The Nemedians shout with triumph. Well may they shout, for the fall of the cliffs has wiped out 5,000 of our bravest knights. Hark! Which, that's really, it's really powerful stuff. And, you get a sense of panic and urgency there. Yeah, I really like that part. Oh, and another thing I just remembered. On the previous page, apparently, I just noticed out of the corner of my eye, apparently the Nemedian banner is a black one. So that's probably a signal of death coming, in a way towards this legion, in a way, this cavalry of knights. So that Howard, almost that page ahead of time, hints at what's flowing over towards Aquilonia. At least that's what I kind of read there. I like to read a little bit of omens into this sort of situation.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that that the army breaks immediately. Now, I don't know if this has to do with spellcasting as well by Exaltatum, because I would figure that Palantides and all the others would be able to hold on to their army, that it wouldn't just break immediately. But of course, history is full of clashes where it immediately breaks, so that it's not unheard of actually at all. It's pretty common, but the tide turns, the spirit turns, so to speak. So, but still, I would have figured that Conan's army, because he's older in this, so his army is well trained in battle and conquest, I would figure, so that it would be able to withstand I mean, some losses.
We're dealing with a matter in war about morale. And sometimes when morale breaks, a leader is taken down, something devastating happens, like the cliffs wiping out an entire contingent. That's going to have an effect, even on veterans.
Yeah.
That's true.
And like when you like in recent history, you have like, for example, Dunkirk, where when you had, I think, the slightly more veteran French army, which began to fail. The English army basically wanted to pack it in and were utterly broken. So the French army basically decided to go samurai and sacrifice themselves down to the last man to save the British and buy time for the British to flee across the Channel. And of course, as Fanks, this brave French Legion from World War II was never portrayed in any movie. And it's purely portrayed as American and British soldiers when there were no American soldiers in, I think. And you have British soldiers who, well, they were defeated, and it was the French armies which gave up their lives to save the British. But that's movies for you. But anyways, I just bring it up because, you know, like you had two sets of armies that should not have broken back, but the Germans broke them quickly.
Yeah, that Dunkirk thing is kind of interesting. Like, why did the German army stop for a day or two so that they could flee? It's interesting.
Morale is in many ways one of the most important factors in a battle.
Yeah, but what's more important here is that, bear in mind, Villanos, everyone thought he was Conan. So that I think you could describe, in a way, Conan is Aquilonia. Like, Aquilonia will rise or fall with him. The difference between Conan and, say, Kull is that in Kull's situation with Volusia, even some of the peasants liked him, but a lot of them also resented him. Kull was resented, and even some parts of the military had mixed feelings about him. Conan is someone whom all the people and the military love, but on the other hand, they are inherently kind of cowardly in a way, or at least they don't have his strength. And seeing him on the battlefield leading and, you know, being unbeatable gives them courage, gives them strength. So that here there's a bit of a reference, I think, to a limited extent at least, to Mark Twain's Jeanne d'Arc, where it is described that Jeanne is France, and without her, the French chivalric knights and soldiers are worthless and could not win a battle if they tried, and they will not try, and they will just run in the other way. But when she's around, they are suddenly inspired and become the bravest of berserkers and warriors. Conan has the same effect on his Aquilonian troops, so that they will fight like devils when he's around, but if they think he's dead or he's not around, they can't bring themselves to fight.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, still, they have Palantides, who is a seasoned veteran, like a general, first-class general of Conan. But of course, he was also there, kind of like thrown off his horse, and he's
unhorsed.
Yeah, he's not leading, so
and
that could also have an effect because he's not there. It was just a thing I thought interesting, but how quickly it turned.
And I think it's on page 593 or 4. Palantides has apparently fallen and died, and so Palantides is not around for very long.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he dies, but
I thought he had died.
He's at least out of the picture.
Yeah. Well, I thought he had died. Let me try to find it. If I'm wrong, I'll actually admit to it. It's okay. I think it's pretty open. I think okay. I think when I was reading, I had thought he had passed in the when the cliffs fell, or something. But
it says here, I see Palantides striving to stem the torrent. He is down, and the horses trample him. They rush into the river. Knights, bowmen, pikemen, all mixed and mingled in one mad torrent of destruction. But that doesn't mean like he's dead. It doesn't mean he's dead. I mean, that's a common phrase, just saying like he's, fallen and people are like just rushing like, over
I thought
and stuff. It doesn't.
Right. When I thought he had passed, I thought that he had been ridden down, like the horses had stomped him down. Mm-hmm. But it could be that he survives.
I hope. It does say the horses trample him, but I don't think he's dead.
I hope I'm wrong, and I hope he survives, and we see him again later in the book. And because that'd be really, really great. I honestly don't know. I've not read that far into the story, so I don't know if he's still around. I hope he is, but I know Prospero is still alive, so I'm happy that Prospero's at least still kicking.
Same here.
Yeah.
Oh, wrong page. All right, and just consulting my notes because I've got the book open and I've got my notes here. Tripping between the two.
We get to the when they come to take Conan. I think that's a great scene here.
Yeah, Conan refuses to go clean.
Yeah,
there's that quote. I just love it. You've got the squire, who's just such an embarrassment here. But your majesty, cried the squire in great perturbation, the battle is lost. It were the part of majesty to yield with the dignity becoming one of royal blood. I have no royal blood, ground Conan. I am a barbarian and the son of a blacksmith.
Yeah.
Which it seems like the way Conan says, the son of a blacksmith, at least when I read it, I was like, it took me back to Marius, who from Roman history, when he said once, I cannot count my ancestors, I cannot point to my noble ancestors, but I can count to my scars, all of which are in front. And like he's boasting of how he was a man's man. He had fought in so many battles, and he did. And all his scars were on the front of his body, none on the back, which apparently the soldiery of Rome admired and loved, and the peasants loved. The nobles hated, but the nobles of his generation mostly had their scars and back. But here, Conan seems to be bragging about his barbarianism and his, at least to me, it seems like he's like, I'm a son of a blacksmith. I'm not going to run away like some.
It also means he's not gonna yield like which is normal when of noble blood when you're a king or something. You sue for peace or you sue for terms of surrender, and he's like, nope, I'm not suing for no terms of surrender. I'm gonna go out swinging, and because this has not been a fair play. I've been taken out by sorcery. My people, like my knights, have been killed unfairly, and
there's no chivalry here. They do not fight for chivalry. I will not give them any quarter, and I will not ask for quarter.
And
I wouldn't think he would either way, but who knows?
Yeah. Often in such a situation, an army will probably do one of two things: either fight to the death like berserkers
and rally,
just trying to cut down the enemy soldier in front of them until the enemy's down or they're down, or break and run.
Yeah, but these are. But the problem is the Aquilonians here are no Nordic berserkers or Roman soldiers to stand their ground to their doom. They're more like the 14th and 15th century French knights who run the other way, because unless their leader is there to lead them. But these soldiers and warriors of Aquilonia bravely tucked tail and turned and ran the other way, as Monty Python would say it. They valiantly chickened out.
Yeah.
But Conan the Samaritan will back out. And this is a scene I absolutely loved. Like a few weeks ago, like a week or two ago, when I first read it, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. I have no royal blood. I'm a barbarian and the son of a blacksmith. And at least for me, because I got into Conan through the movie, it reminded me of Crom. Crom is your god. And like, you know, like that entire scene. Of,
yeah. When his father makes the sword and this you can trust. Yeah.
There, and I was like,
yeah, that's actually a good point. You can look at remind you of the movie and think of that scene. That's a good point.
And I'm going to be honest. I'm actually going to complain about something when it comes to Conan movies and video games. How come we have never gotten this scene? I have no royal blood. I'm a barbarian and the son of a blood. And he tears away the bow and an arrow from, I think, the squire's hand, and he's like, I'm going out swinging. I would love to see this just shown cinematically, even in a video game, like just Conan going, you know, like just I am the son of a blacksmith. I just love this.
I don't remember. It's been a time since I played the Conan game.
Oh yeah,
from for the Xbox, and then I don't remember if in the new movie if Conan said anything like that. I'm not sure. They did put the "I slay, I love" line in the new movie, in the Conan movie, or the Jason Momoa one. I mean,
okay, I've never seen it. We'll get to that one at some point after we do our stream on the Sword and the Sorcerer. I think it is.
Yeah,
because we have to do that one, and any other Sword and Sorceries you want us to do before that.
Yeah, I mean, prepare to be disappointed, but I mean, it has some decent moments, but yeah,
it's not like the 82.
It is. I mean, the direction is horrible. So, I mean, that's what you get when you choose a C movie director. I never understood why they chose that guy. He hasn't made anything of note. Like his best is the Friday the 13th remake, basically. That's it.
Oh, that movie was pretty good.
Yeah, but that's his high mark. Like it's a weird choice. I don't understand why it's no John Milius, so it's a very strange choice. Because you gotta, with Conan, you gotta have the scale, the epic. You see the scenes, like the music, and get the Howard spirit and feel and stuff. Like you can't just shoot it like a music video, because that's kind of how it feels at times. Like it feels really very modern and kind of like, I don't know.
There needs to be grit and yet an operatic feel.
The comment by Lord of Lek here is spot on. Momoa would have been a great. I mean, I think he would have made a good Conan, but if he had even a mediocre.
Let me just read the comment. Momoa would have made a great Conan if he had even a mediocre script. Definitely a failed by Millennium. Hopefully one that isn't repeated by Red Sonja. I'm not a big fan of Jason Momoa. I find him a terrible actor most of the time. But a lot of people seem to like him. So,
I mean, he kind of looks like Conan.
So, he looks the part.
They got that part right, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. But maybe he could have worked with even a mediocre script. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, if they have a great script, great director, great music, it would definitely be much better. Could have worked. There is kind of like a Conan kind of has his appearance is Momoa is a bit too clean cut. If you want to really go for the accurate image of Conan is much more brutish looking. So But
yeah,
it's kind of hard to find, I guess. Maybe an
yeah.
actor who fits the bill.
It's also difficult to find a director who fits the bill.
Oh yeah. I mean, just choose someone better than a basic B movie director. I mean, just get someone with some good movies under their belt. I mean,
and someone with a bit of poetry in their soul, like John Milius.
Yeah, someone with a bit of passion, at least, know-how. But I think this is a great scene here. Here I am, you jackals, roared the Cimmerian. I am the king. Death to you, dog brothers.
I love that.
Dog brothers.
Of course, Conan's the manliest man around.
Yeah, and you jackals, which, their jackals are, well, basically canines who don't have the guts to fight wolves and lions and whatnot. They just prey at they're like vultures, except without wings.
Yeah, I've also seen it like traitors, kind of similar to traitors.
Yeah. I am the king. Yeah. Curse my shaky hand. Come in and take me if you dare. And I just love how Tarascus goes, by Mitra, it is the king.
Yeah, because we find out quickly that he doesn't know everything. Because Xaltatun is playing his own game completely above everyone else.
And I love how Conan is actually not technically able to fight. Like, he's basically become an invalid. And he
still takes them down.
He takes 3 elite soldiers down. He just one after the other. And then he even has the guts but his eyes flamed with exultant savagery, and he panted, "Why do you stand afar off, dog of Belverus? I can't reach you. Come in and die." And you just have Tarascus going, no.
Only Conan could be practically an invalid and still come out across as very fearsome.
Yeah. This moment is just wow.
Yeah, this is great. And this is where they say, like, let's take and shoot him with arrows so we can take him down.
Yeah, because they're going, we can't take him. So we're just going to kind of take him from a distance. And I just love how you've got the enemy going, okay, no, we're noping out of this. And Xaltatun, of course, shows up. And what's interesting is that he shows up on a chariot, which right there, that's jarring, because chariots were chosen, they were kind of the tanks of the Bronze Age and used frequently by Egypt.
But he's from Stygia.
Or Acheron.
Makes sense. Yeah, Acheron, but Acheron, as we learned from the last chapters, is very closely related to Stygia.
Yeah, because Stygia is essentially the
they were sister states.
Yeah,
they were sister states. So and they worship the same god, Set, and they had priests of Set and all that stuff. So I would figure they would also have chariots the same way.
So it kind of contrasts Aquilonia with Stygia / Acheron here. We just have such a marked contrast, even between Nemedia and Acheron and whatnot. It's such a great contrasting scene there. And we have another comment. I'll just quickly go here. I'm having some minor computer issues. Bloody heck.
I can read it.
Okay. Momoa Looks was a male model version of Conan. I always thought that the guy who played Little John in Russell Crowe's Robin Hood would have made a great Conan. I don't remember what that guy looks like.
Me neither. I was thinking of a different Robin Hood, and I was like, wait, okay. Yeah, Russell Crowe's Robin Hood.
I'll have to look it up later.
I gotta look it up.
Maybe I'll make a community post later on my thoughts on that tomorrow. But for now, I'll just focus on this. Hope you don't mind Garrett Christensen. I honestly can't think of. I don't know what the guy looks like off the top of my head, and I'm not going to look it up right away.
Oh, Kevin Durant. Right. Okay.
Oh, you looked it up?
Yeah. I know this actor.
Okay, I'll have to look him up. I can't speak to whether or not he'd be a good Conan.
Interesting choice, but it's not something I would think that looks like Conan. He's quite gaunt and long in the face, so interesting choice, but I don't know. I don't really see it.
If he's gaunt, he could do a Christian Bale and pack on the muscles. If need be, and buff up or bulk up. I mean, as he's on, not gonna.
But he also doesn't have the brutish face. If you want to go for the brutish look, so of Conan.
Well, as to Xaltotin, he has a Shemitish headdress. I always I'm not sure about anyone else, but for me, I always end up thinking of the kind of double Egyptian crown. You know what I mean?
But there's a picture of him here, actually.
Oh, in your copy. Let's see that.
No.
Oh, okay.
That's Xaltotin. Yep. Yeah, he looks very Assyrian or Babylonian.
Yeah. Okay, I was thinking Egyptian, but I like that stuff.
He looks very Babylonian to me.
Interesting choice.
Yeah.
Because I think you probably have an older copy, and your edition.
It's this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have, or at least I have got this one.
Oh yeah. Does it have illustration of Xaltotin in it?
No, it just has the text.
Oh, okay.
I wish it did.
This one actually has fantastic. Look at this. Here's the fight.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, where Conan fights the guys coming into his pavilion.
Yeah,
it's really good.
Can you send me the name of the edition or copy that it is?
Yeah, it's the Bloody Crown of Conan. That's the name. The Bloody Crown of Conan. You'll find it with that.
I'll note it down because I do apologize to all of our listeners. I just want to know because I don't mind buying spare copies and editions because I like this sort of thing. I'm not the biggest book collector, but I like stately Von Manor, but I do like my different editions on occasion. Oh,
Get there. Xaltotin looking down on Conan when they
yeah, I love that scene.
In chains. This got some great illustrations, this book. I really recommend it. It's not that costly even. It's like $10 used copy. $10, $11.
Oh wow, that's a great price.
Yeah, it's got The People of the Black Circle, The Hour of the Dragon, and A Witch Shall Be Born.
All good stories.
Yeah, they're all good stories.
Well, anything written by Howard is generally really good.
Yep. Yeah, the writing is once again really good. Well, it is Howard, so we were talking about that the other day. How modern fantasy kind of has lacking in the writing aspect. It seems it's like it can't hold your like interest. It seems like it or the modern swearing that takes you completely out of the story, and it just irks me all the way. I'm like, come on, use your imagination. Yeah, invent your own or use imagination. Like, tell me about. I mean, there's about the scene. There's I don't know. A lot of modern fantasy is really disappointing.
Modern fantasy always, like you said, it doesn't hold my attention too well.
There's some good stuff, and don't get me wrong, but I'm just saying it seems there's the writing style is definitely hard to find as good of writing style as this.
What I also like about Howard's writing style is, now there's a quote I think earlier in the book of my edition where it has the commentary of critics. Stephen King, like I'm not the biggest fan of King, but I like his quote. Howard's writing seems so highly charged with energy that it nearly gives off sparks. And like the difference between Tolkien's style is that Tolkien, you almost imagine that you're reading a musical chord. Whereas with Howard, it's like it's sparking and whatnot with electrical and fiery. Like just, you almost feel like it's
it's very in your face.
A blacksmith hammer smashing the metal into shape.
Yeah. It's very in your face.
It's but there's something about Howard that, like Tolkien, I might actually say doesn't belong with fantasy. And I was talking to Dan the other day, and what I had said, I think, was that maybe we shouldn't think of Howard as being part of the sword and sorcery or fantasy genre, but rather in terms of mythology and of an older literary style and kind of genre in a way, because Howard and Tolkien were looking to medieval Nordic and Greek hero sagas and tragedies and to medieval literature, which they loved. And maybe we should instead look to them as the last of the old.
That's the direct influence. That's the direct influence. It's like a son of all those mythologies, all those books written about ancient heroes and stuff like that. This is like the next step
and
of that.
I don't know what you think of my idea that maybe Howard and Tolkien are the last of the old, in a way.
No. That's a good point. It makes sense. It makes sense, definitely.
So that maybe they are kind of fathers of fantasy, but maybe they're not fantasy in a way.
Kind of the old guard. They kind of birthed a new style, a new genre, while they themselves were the last of the mythological hero, so to speak, until they
perhaps in a way the grandfathers of fantasy.
That might be apt. I hadn't thought of it that way. That might be apt. I like that.
Because, for example, we use superheroes. How, for example, superheroes, there's an aspect of it that's between the detective noir pulps.
Yeah, that's what birthed them.
And you mixed a bit of grim fairy tales, and you have something new that came out as the superhero.
Yeah,
right.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's really interesting now in my edition, page 594, when you have "Hail Zaltotin" from exclaimed Tarascus. Now, Tarascus is king of Nemedia, and he's hailing Zaltotin as though Zaltotin is his superior. And you really get a sense of the pecking order here. He might be a king, but where I think that Tarascus does have a brain between his ears is that he knows far more keenly than I think the other conspirators. Zaltotin is dangerous and has his own agenda, and he should be kind of treated with care. You know what I mean?
Really?
Well, I just mean that he has enough brains between his ears to go. The others, I'm just saying, want to use Zaltotin like a weapon, like a nuclear bomb, to take down Conan. But Tarascus here seems a little afraid.
I kind No, I was just saying, I kind of disagree here. For me, when I read this, it seems kind of like, hey, Saltatun, like he still thinks of Saltatun as his inferior, that someone who they summoned up and is their weapon, and which they used to give him the kingship. That he's very arrogant here, and the only one for me, it seems that takes Saltatun extremely serious is Orastes, the priest or the former priest of Mitra. This Tarascus is like seems very, very arrogant and seems to not take Saltatun serious. For me, I don't know. For me, it read kind of that way.
I'll just say that, yeah, I agree about Orestes taking him very seriously. I just mean that the term hail is something you would use with your king or something. So that here I got the sense that Tarascus is, in a way, yeah, he's saying, hey, but it might be the word is something that you say to your superior, and typically, and that's where I just found that there's something there that even if it's unconscious on Tarascus's part, even he knows who's in charge. But in turn, you have Tarascus, who does try to be assertive with he is dead. And that's where I think we do have, like you said, a clash. Tarascus is certainly arrogant, but I do think that he is cautious with Saltatun. I don't think he trusts him.
I mean, this mage has rendered King Conan the biggest and the strongest man that could make or break an army into essentially a helpless baby.
Yeah.
Do you really want to talk down to him?
To an extent, yeah. But I just think that, yeah, like I just think the Hail Saltatun is, yeah, in Shakespeare it'd be used more as, hey, how you doing? But at the same time, it was also a term, like I said, used that you might greet a king. Hail Conan, or Hail Philip Auguste. But anyways,
yeah,
you disagree, and that's fine.
Yeah, it's an interesting point.
But I think that on the other end, I love how Saltatun is way more arrogant. And I just love how Saltatun talks down to him. Yet even a dog has uses. Take him alive. Saltatun at no point is treating Tarascus like his equal or like
oh yeah, no.
He's talking down to him. Watch me and learn wisdom. I love Saltatun. And I know that Fafamon holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts. And I like Fafamon. But I'm just liking Saltatun so much more to an extent.
I'm on board with that.
I think in the next chapter, we kind of get a lore drop of Thothamon without using his name, but we get a lore drop of information about Thothamon. So that was kind of cool. I didn't notice that. I didn't remember that, at least.
Yeah.
But that's interesting when we get there.
Yeah.
We can talk about it.
And man, this is no matter how you read this scene, this is a great scene between Tarascus and Saltatun. And what I love is how you have both of them talking about Conan like he's not even there, and Conan's just like, hello, I'm still here, and I'm gonna hew you down. I'd hew you out of that chariot like a woodsman hewing a tree, but you'll never take me alive. And I like how you have Tarascus, who says, he speaks the truth, I fear. The man is a barbarian with the senseless ferocity of a wounded tiger. Let me summon the archers. And here Tarascus is getting frustrated, but I like how you have Saltatun, watch me and learn wisdom. But I just like how even when answering Conan, Tarascus is not talking to Conan, but talking to Saltatun, so that he is arrogant here in his dismissal of Conan in a way, like verbally he's dismissing him to an extent, but he's not at the same time. You know what I mean? Like his attention is directed to Saltatun, but he's talking about summoning the archers, so he's taking Conan seriously. But Yeah, I just love how they don't even talk to Conan. They're discussing him without addressing him. So I guess he's the third wheel.
Yeah. Well, they know they have him, so
yeah.
So that's kind of they're discussing the plans, what to do with him.
And,
but it's interesting what he uses. He uses something of a explosion to take Conan out.
Yeah,
which is an interesting choice.
And real quick, we have a great quote by Garrett Christensen. The wizard seems to be a nuclear bomb that the conspirators dug up and foolishly think they can control.
Yeah. It's kind of like they didn't think about how how much wisdom he has, how clever he is, how powerful he is. It's just
the only one who thought about it beforehand, during to an extent, and even after, like you pointed out, was Erastes. But Erastes had his own motives.
Yeah.
And his motives seem, well, Erastes is clever. I'll just say that. He's a great villain as well. And I like how now that flare of white blinding flame, I've seen that sort of thing in, I think, a few other fantasy books, more modern ones from the 80s and 90s. And I didn't catch on to where they were drawing their, it didn't knock out a character, but it just a flare of white blinding flame, just like a flash.
Flashbang was one. Yeah, it was my thought. Yeah.
I've seen that in so many video games, so many fantasy stories from the 80s and onwards. I didn't catch on to where they were drawing inspiration, but it's clearly from Howard, and I really like that. So, yeah, and I like how you have Zaldaton, who immediately takes custody of Conan and just says, "I'm for Belvaris. Tell Amalric that I will be with him if he needs me. But with Conan out of the way and his army broken, lance and sword should suffice for the rest of the conquest. Prospero cannot be bringing more than 10,000 men to the field, and will doubtless fall back to Tarantia when he hears the news of the battle. Say nothing to Amalric or Valerius or anyone about our capture. Let them think Conan died in the fall of the cliffs." He's treating the man as his subordinate, and here we find out that Amalric and Valerius are not going to be told anything, and they're not going to be given any information.
And also that that like now just use the army, but I mean if the army is not enough, Xaltatun can use his magic to bring ruin to all of Aquilona. So it's really no match. It doesn't matter how many knights Prospero has, as we learn in the next chapter when Conan and Xaltatun talk.
In cunning and in power, I'd compare him to Sauron with the One Ring in the Second Age.
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the Third Age. So, like, thereabouts. Like, in the War of the Last Alliance. Like, that's what we're kind of dealing with here. Zaldaton is such a threat.
Yeah, this last part of this chapter is kind of interesting. It's kind of like it's a strange note to end on, or it's just it was just kind of like a curveball in a way. I didn't think Howard would write. I mean this part where Xaltatun stares down the squire, or who is it? The
he looks at a guardsman.
The man at arms. Yeah.
What is that about your waist? And it's like, why, my girdle? May it please you, my lord? And he slays the man with the girdle. And
makes it a snake.
It sinks its fangs into his hand, and then he stiffened and fell heavily. And Tarascus apparently just looks at him without expression and sees only a leathern girdle and the buckle. And apparently, I just like how we do get a bit more complexity to Tarascus as a character. When Zaltotun turned his hypnotic gaze on Tarascus's squire, and the man turned ashen and began to tremble. But the king interposed, "Nay, we can trust him." Here, I think Tarascus is genuinely afraid here. But where I say it adds character and a bit of complexity, because I'm going to be honest, Tarascus has been a rascal, in my opinion, so far. And, he joined in this really stupid conspiracy to revive Zaltotun. He had his brother and nephews slain by plague, and pretty much took over I think his brother Saraglio, merged it with his own, and he's just been a total rascal. And I'm being very polite there. I'm trying to be polite.
Yeah. He has no idea what he has unleashed.
Yeah, I agree. And
he's absolutely no idea.
I think here he started to get a bit of an inkling, but not a full idea. And
no.
What do you mean?
No, I just mean he doesn't know like what he has unleashed. But yeah, he's getting an inkling, like you said.
But what's interesting is that he actually chooses to save his squire and even puts himself in harm's way to save the man.
And probably because he doesn't care to get a new squire.
Yeah, but I wonder, because like in medieval literature, a squire and a knight were often very close, like brothers or something.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And so to fail to protect your squire, for your squire to fail to protect you, was a mark of dishonor. And this would often be the equivalent almost of a body slave that the Romans had. Like this person slept in the same room as you. Like you two were family and kin and whatnot. And like it. So I wonder if, now you can read it that he doesn't, it's like, oh man, it'd be such a drag having to get a new squire. I don't mind reading it that way. I read it as he actually genuinely liked the guy, and he's like, I'm not letting it hurt him. He's my buddy. But on the other hand, I'm not trying to read Tarascus as a good guy. No. He's scum. But he's just like, but I do like how the squire ends up asking, why should he spare the Cimmerian? Tarascus.
That's a good question.
He's like, that I'm wondering myself. Like, that's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah. And makes no sense.
The trouble for Tarascus is it's too late to turn back now.
Yeah.
Too late for buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
I mean, Zaltotun obviously is not how you say, like he doesn't care if Conan lives or dies. He's not impressed. So for him to keep him alive, it's like whatever. He can use him or he cannot use him. It's just another pawn in his game. His perspective is much larger. He doesn't see him as a threat at all, while as Tarascus sees him as a threat.
Yeah.
But Zaltotun does not at all. Like he's nothing in his eyes.
Yeah. And
that's why he against his better judgment, against his downfall is his arrogance. He doesn't take to account Conan at all.
I remember in Lord of the Rings how Gandalf describes how defeat does not even exist in Sauron's mind to a large extent. And he plays kind of chess with the world on such a high level that few can keep up with him. And I think with Zaltotun, defeat doesn't even cross his mind. He's so arrogant, just like Sauron. But on the other hand, he plays chess in a way when others are playing checkers. You know what I mean? Like they can't play on his level. So
yeah. Even though he was defeated, though. So I mean, you would think he would like, okay, this time I'm gonna have contingency plans. I'm gonna have Plan B as well,
and
so
C, D, all the way to Z.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would. That would be like
Because logically, someone as strong and powerful as Conan, you don't keep him around as a trophy.
No.
And you don't keep him around as a puppet king.
Oh, yeah, because he'll never agree to it.
You're just going to end up with your head lopped off and your kingdom merged with his.
If there's
that's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean. He doesn't regard him as a threat at all.
No.
It's just another pawn.
Essentially, it was the ancestors of Conan's people who took out Zaltotin last time, like you, I think you commented. And, one would think. But what's funny is that, now I'm just going to say a parallel to Lord of the Rings real quick. I know I'm probably annoying some people. But what's funny is that it was kind of Aragorn's ancestor and who took out Sauron. But while Sauron is afraid of Aragorn to a limited extent, before he sees Aragorn, he does sees his face and sees him pull out the newly reforged Anduril. He's not at all alarmed. He's like, oh yeah, I'm not worried about Aragorn and whatnot. It's not until he sees him with Anduril that he goes, ooh, okay, this might be tougher than I thought. But that's one difference as well between Zaltotin and Sauron. Zaltotin wouldn't get scared there. Sauron would, to a limited extent. So there are differences, to be sure. But I'm just saying there's the similarity of, I can take him, but he should be more cautious, Sauron. Zaltotin should be more cautious, but they're not. And that's what makes them such great villains. But the difference is we don't really see Sauron on screen. Instead, we see the Witch King of Angmar, who's essentially his avatar, but who's arrogant as heck. But Zaltotin, we see him operating here, and he is utterly brilliant. He's utterly brilliant. Such a great villain. And if I may add that I can't think of almost any fantasy villain who measures up in intelligence and confidence as Zaltotin. But
that's high praise.
Yeah. Well, I really like Takesis. She's very arrogant, but at the same time, she's often not as brilliant as Zaltotin. You've got Fista and Dantalus, who's a great villain from Dragonlance as well. Doesn't operate quite as brilliantly. You've got, but I'm just saying, this is a character I really love as a villain. Yeah. So far, probably my top 5 favorite villains already. I love this villain.
Yeah, it is a great villain.
But now we get to chapter 4, over analyzing chapter 4. And 1 second. We've got some sort of bot in the chat. I didn't notice until now because I've oops, something went wrong. Try reloading the page. No, I won't bother. Screw it. But anyways, and now as to
from what hell have you crawled?
Yeah,
is the title of my
same.
Yeah,
which is a quote from Conan, I think. And
yeah, it's a quote.
Yeah, and you have here, I love how it's a triumph. Zaltotin is essentially triumphing in the Roman sense. That is to say, parading. Like he's the big guy. He's like a returning Roman general or something like, just waving to the crowd and going, I'm awesome. This is my day to be a god made real and whatnot. Because that's the idea of a triumph. You play at being a god for one day in Roman history and whatnot. You were only allowed to triumph for Rome or Constantinople, the capitals, basically. Although there have been military triumphs in the Roman fashion, I think, done in Paris and in Moscow, I think, at other points in history. But those were not done by Romans, obviously. Or Greeks. But anyways. Sorry, I just love the Romanesque element here. And
well, yeah, it's an obvious influence on Howard.
Roman,
Roman generals and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. And
I always thought the Aquilonian kind of resembled that. Palatides and Prospero, those like Roman-esque generals.
Yeah, I always thought it was inspired by Rome. I also had a sense that because there are knights, that might be an influence. That might be a nod to France or something. Like you have the
yeah. I think it's a mix.
Yeah,
like definitely influence.
Yeah, and we French tend to like to think of ourselves as heirs to Rome, anyways. So,
wasn't Germany in history the Holy Roman Empire?
Holy Roman Empire, yeah.
Yeah.
But the idea that the French kings had was that Paris was the third or second Rome.
Right.
Which, now the trouble is, this greatly angered the German kings and the English kings who thought that was very arrogant of the French kings. But the French kings tend to say, well, we are directly, by blood, descended from Charlemagne, who was the founder of the Holy Roman Empire. So it was essentially a dispute for 1,000 years or so between Germany and France, who was the heir to Rome in a way. With France saying, well, the direct descendants of Charlemagne, and Germany saying, no, you have to have Holy Roman Empire in your title to an extent. And now the trouble is the popes would hee-haw between one or the other, depending on who was on their side. And it's just the French culture just kind of developed the mindset, we are heirs to Rome. Just as the Russians said, we are heirs to Constantinople. So it's like, we have that. And I think the Polish also like to brag throughout the medieval age that they were heirs to Constantinople. So you have this feud between these different countries about who over Rome. When, the descendants of the Romans are the Italians. I'm joking here. But
wouldn't the Germans actually have quite a strong case since the barbarians invaded Rome and basically took over and became the kind of like the Holy Roman Empire afterwards? So they
they could make a strong case. But from French to us, it's a matter that the rituals and ceremonies of Rome were into the kingship and nobility and the people, and there was more. And there's the mixture of Latin language and Celtic language with France. With the French language,
and also the barbarians were invaders anyway, so they weren't original Romans.
Yeah,
they were invaders.
Whereas the French are the French are the mixture of German people, the Franc, and the Romans and Celts, and they all interbred with each other to form the French. But then they got a big head because nous les Français. But anyways,
let's just say Finland is Rome. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that's kind of the culture. But yeah, like I tend to think of Aquilonia as a mixture of French chivalry and knights and the Roman legions, because they mention the legions, and Palatides and Prosper are very, very Romanish. Like you said, I like how you have Zaltotin, who actually lies here. Well, indeed, the king of Aquilonia lies slain, and his host is broken. And there, I like how you have a lot of the Nemedians going, oh yeah, wow, we didn't think that was possible. They're basically excited. There's a babble of excited voices arose, drowned the next instant by the whirling wheels of the chariot on the flags. But you have in turn, Conan's lying right there in the chariot. So this is a very funny scene in a way. At least I thought there was humor to be found here, despite the bleakness.
Which one?
Of Zaltotin saying The king of Aquilonia lies slain and his host is broken. Then the next paragraph, a babble of excited voices rose. Yeah, I thought there was a bit of comedy to be found but linguistically, there's also, interestingly here, drowned the next instant by the whirling wheels of the chariot on the flags. Now, you'd think drowned as in the sea, like, so that it sounds like, it brings to mind like a wave, like a tsunami wave. And on the flags, which makes it sound as though it's a conquering wave over the banners of Aquilonia. And that, in a way, because when you have a wave like that with the sea, it's typically considered inevitable. There's no getting around it. It's inevitable. And I think it is. And so right here, I just, like, it's kind of building up Zaltut as larger than life, in a way. But yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, I get where Lord of Lex coming from here. I love the Greeks. Anyways, what's there not to love about them? They've given so much to the world. But what do you think of my comment about the chariot wheels in the sentence?
Right, the whirling wheels of the chariot on the flags.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think that anything that different, but like you said, he obviously lies because he wants to keep the pawn of Conan to himself and to choose what to do in the grand scheme of things. But and obviously setting the people to talk about the lie will make it go a long way. So no, yeah. I think you have a good point. Make him larger than life.
And I think that with Conan lapsing into a deep lethargy at the bottom of the page, at least with my edition, the thing that I wondered here was, to an extent, yeah, I know it's the magic, but another way of looking at it, just real quick, would be, it reminded me of a quote about how defeat can, if you've never known the taste of defeat, it can break you in a way and leave you lethargic and unable to get back up. And that's what it kind of reminded me of. So that in a way, there's a taste of defeat for Conan. And this is the first real defeat he's ever had.
It is. Yeah, now that I think about it, it's kind of interesting. There's like three things he's going through. He first he was hit by the Child of Darkness. Mm-hmm. So he in his spirit he's hit. Then he was bombed, basically, or the orb that flashbanged him. So he's fighting the disorientation as well, on top of the Child of Darkness hitting his soul or spirit. And then third, obviously, the defeat of everything. His army, his kingship, and he's captured. So he's basically battling on every every front here.
There are three
soul, spirit, flesh, and everything. He's basically fighting on every level here and holding on to survival, or holding on to life.
I really like what you just said there. That didn't occur to me, but I love it. Soul, spirit, and flesh. Yeah, every level of Conan's being has suffered.
Yeah, he's basically, I think. Yeah,
and he's got a. He's struggling just to hold on to something.
Yeah, exactly.
well, anyways, pour préserver quelque chose de lui-même, to preserve something of himself. And
yeah, it says he was like a mindless automaton that hears and sees but does not understand. Sights and sounds flowed meaninglessly about him. He lapsed again into a deep lethargy and was only dimly aware when the chariot halted in a deep, high-walled court, and he was lifted from it by many hands and borne up a winding stone stair and down a long, dim corridor. Yeah, so he's only vaguely aware. But I mean, just what I mean, also like the amount of fighting he has went through in a short time. It's quite a lot, and he's still holding on. Many a man would have been broken by this point. Like your army is defeated. Your spirit has been attacked, basically rendering you useless, which is all of your power, because Conan is very physical. He is his strength. The strength is him. Like, that's also why he hates magic, because that's something he doesn't understand. It goes beyond him. And so he's been hit from every side, but he's still like his character and spirit like holds on.
His strength of will, because anyone in that situation, even some of the strongest people in the world, would crack at that, because the utter helplessness.
Yeah, I think.
Exactly.
What's interesting with Conan is that he's ordinarily a very particular character. He's cast in the role of Robert Giscard. He was a Norman adventurer who claimed a position akin to an emperorship in southern Italy, or Rob Roy or Musashi in a way. But in this book, he's cast almost more in the mold of Robert the Bruce from Scottish history. That is to say, a king who suffered enormous defeats, at least for Robert the Bruce, continuous defeats at one point, to the point that he considered, it's theorized he might have considered taking his own life. And he had to flee into the wilderness where no one could find him, and then had to come back and claim victory inch by inch through guerrilla tactics, through dirty fighting, and through trickery. And he never lost a battle after he came back from the wilderness. And he vowed to keep on going no matter what. Even if he lost all his men, he'd keep on fighting. And he was a man who was raised as a chivalric knight, but he gave up his chivalry and his knighthood to fight like a dirty bandit in a way. And he reclaimed his kingship and was the greatest British monarch of all times. So Conan's kind of cast in that role of where ordinarily he's this conquering almighty figure. We see him laid low and suffer enormous defeats and have to kind of rebuild himself and figure out how to build a new army and how to get around the situation that he's in. At least that's how.
Yeah.
Like.
Exactly.
This is.
But
really...
but it's still cool to see that he still holds on to who he is. Like, he doesn't. Like, his immediate words are, "Who are you?" demanded the king belligerently, struggling to a sitting position in spite of his chains.
Yes.
Like, he's still defiant. He's still who he is, even though he's suffered like on multiple levels. Like that. That's what it's interesting in this story, that specifically his spirit is the first thing that is attacked, and the morale of his troops and everything that that's the first thing that's destroyed. Then his strength and everything else, but like that's the first thing. That it's an interesting that I don't think you see a lot in maybe in the other stories. Can't remember right now, but still, that's a but he still holds on to, like, it has not none of these tricks or things or these attacks that have been severe hasn't changed him. He still holds on. He's still defiant, and he hasn't given himself to discouragement, like would be a really human emotion right here, to to give yourself. Only like a really strong-willed person wouldn't give himself to discouragement here.
I've only read into a bit of the next chapter, and in there he seems a little discouraged.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it's been a while since I read this book, so.
Well, he's a little discouraged, but
I mean, we can give him a little.
Yeah, like, but it's not like the kind of soul-crushing discouragement that.
No.
No, I'm not complaining about Aragorn, for example, but Aragorn is crushed when Frodo and Sam disappear and Boromir is slain. He's just utterly heartbroken, and he's like, what are we going to do next? I'm a leader, and I don't even know what I'm going to do next, to an extent. I know what I should do, but I don't know whether I should do it. But Conan is only a little discouraged and is like, well, I know what I want to do. What's that? I want to get that guy and take him out. But what's also interesting is that, like, we have such a contrast in the figures. Because, you know, you have Xaltutin, who's dressed in a filmy robe. You've got, like, it's almost to compare the two would almost be to compare. Okay, I'll go back to a bit of medieval history. Compare like Charlemagne and maybe the Greek emperor at the time. It would just be such a contrast. One would be wearing a robe, maybe wearing slippers, and have a very elegant crown, while Charlemagne would just wear a long cloak for just because it served a practical purpose, and probably warrior's dress, and that would be it. So you'd have this contrast between barbarian emperor and Greek emperor. So, like, you know, like, this is the kind of contrast one kind of sees with Conan. Conan is a barbarian king whom, to quote an earlier chapter, the veneer of civility has kind of slipped off him, like probably like a lion's skin or something. Like, he's tossed it off, and only the barbarian is left. While Xaltutin is utterly filled with civilization. He's wearing a robe. You know, like, there's such contrast here.
Yeah.
And you were thinking there for a minute. What were you thinking?
No, I was just looking for in the next chapter, just looking at the despair thing.
Well, I think he was. What was it? We're not going to
despair of his position with the stoicism of the wilds that have bred him. So basically, he has a bit of a despair, but the wilds that bred him, like, keeps him, you know, stoic. So it's not.
If I had to, I think the word you used, the word I'd use with that situation was discouraged, not despairing, though. Like,
yeah,
that's how I think you had made that differentiation earlier, and I really like it. Conan might feel a little discouraged, but he's not despairing.
But what I meant was that, like, a normal person would give himself completely into discouragement, like, really in despair. But Conan does not. He still holds on.
When he says, "Who are you?" and he demands, Conan, like you point out, is very stoic in a way. Now, I love Stoic philosophy because my favorite self-help book is that written by Marcus Aurelius. And there's a quote in there: "You must make yourself as the promontory and absorb the blow." And, like, absorb the blow of the sea, because life is that raging sea, raging against you, and you have to make yourself like the promontory and absorb the blow. And that's what Conan does here. He kind of armors himself with his anger and with his, not just his anger, but like his strength, his emotional strength, and says, "Who are you?" And, you know, like, he doesn't let his weakness show, doesn't let any discouragement show, won't even acknowledge it because, well, it'll serve no purpose right now. So that he's a very practical king, and he's the very definition of, in a very positive sense, male stoicism. You know what I mean? Like, he won't let himself give into discouragement like maybe an average person would, as you pointed out. And
it's kind of. No, I was just saying it's kind of funny. He's the Conan says, just if you mean to murder me, why don't you do it and get it over with? Like, it's kind of funny. Like, doesn't he think, why would he bring him all the way to Belverus to just kill him? Like, unless of course a ritual for ritualistic purposes, but otherwise it seems kind of like a. Well, maybe it's not so much a question. It's just like, get it over with. Like, I'm done with.
I'm not going to beg.
Yeah, it's kind of maybe it's not like a question. Maybe it's more like an attitude. Like, yeah.
Listening to you yammer on is far more torturous than anything you could give me. So just do me in.
Yeah,
I'd rather die to a blade than to out of boredom.
Yeah.
That could.
We also have, just to go back up the page a little, black velvet tapestries that decorate the walls and heavy purple carpets. So we've got the royal, you know what I mean, like the imperial here of purple meeting with the color of kind of death. So
yeah.
Oh, and apparently I recently learned that in some parts of the world, purple is associated with death.
Really?
And misfortune. I had no idea. I recently read that up. A friend of mine told me that, and I was like, really? I had no idea. So that was weird. So we've got multiple interpretations here, just with the color of the scene. And sorry,
the black is probably of the Nemedian colors. Colors.
But it hints at the evil that lies here, that's facing down Conan.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And you've got, what the devil did you do to me? Demanded Conan. I blasted your consciousness, answered Skelton. How? You would not understand. Call it black magic, if you will. Jeez, such a snob.
Yeah. I can see why Conan is like, just finish the job already.
Yeah.
And I like how...
No, I was just going to say this next part with Conan trying to understand it. Or you want to you spared me because of blah, blah, blah. And Xaltatun just, no, that's not it. Like, my plans are so much bigger and further along and higher than your thinking. Like, I'm not beholden to these guys who raised me up. Like, I don't care.
Yeah,
I have zero care.
Real quick, Lord of Fleck. Conan would have been a subscriber to the Stoics for sure. Not a great one, as he let his desires propel him during his early days, but definitely as a king. A failed Stoic, perhaps. Well, I'm going to say that I think that, certainly he would have been a failed Stoic in his youth, but I think when he becomes king, by then he's gained the wisdom, and he probably, as king, he kind of embodies a kind of Marcus Aurelian ideal, in a way, of a monarch. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's in his later years that he truly lives up to that kind of standard. But in his younger days, certainly there are times when he kind of
I would say it would be maybe opposite. He's very brash, headstrong. Like if somebody slights him, he might just chop their head off. Like, someone owes him money, like death. He might be really cranky, depending on how much he had to drink, how little he had to drink. Like, I mean, he was pretty much a menace.
My favorite young Conan scene is when he takes the 1X who sold him out, picks her up, and throws her into a dung heap.
Oh yeah, which one was that?
I forget. But I love that scene. It was hilarious.
Yeah, I remember that scene as well. In Tower of the Elephant, he just the whole tavern thing in the beginning. He starts like, and then he just murders immediately because he was slighted. Yes, he doesn't take well
to
being slighted.
But I like how you have Conan who says, Amalric wants to keep me as a check, as well, you ended up pointing out this paragraph here, as a check on Valerius. Yeah, this would probably be in case the impossible happens and he becomes king of Aquilonia. Yeah. The idea being that Amalric will want to use Conan as a weapon against Valerius to keep him in check.
Yeah, this would be like a nobleman's thinking, like a nobleman villain. But like Saltatune is like, no, I'm so much, my plans are so much higher. You don't understand. Like I don't care about these people. Like they matter nothing to me.
Yeah, so, and we know that Amalric is wealthy enough to finance this war. So
yeah,
or a good chunk of it. And Zaltatun. Amalric knows nothing of your capture. Neither does Valerius. Both think you died at Valkia. And Conan can get a little snobby in turn. I sensed a brain behind all this. Wow. He really doesn't think much of the intellect of his enemies, except for Zaltatun. But if I was Amalric's, are Amalric, Tarascus, and Valerius all but puppets dancing on your string? Who are you? Yeah, he's kind of dismissive a little of their intellect, except maybe Amalric to an extent, but Zaltatun, and you have Zaltatun who tries to tempt him with the throne of Aquilonia.
Yeah, which you just took away from him, which Conan has prepared himself basically for his whole life, and with honor and with steel taken himself with and with rule with great friends and stuff like that. And then yeah, that's quite a spit in the face. Like, yeah, I'll put you back on.
Yeah, there's no respect shown there. What's your price? Obedience to me.
Yeah.
And Conan tells him,
with you.
I'm no figurehead.
Yeah.
Which, that's classic Conan. Like, it's I think as much, at least this is how I kind of read it into Conan. It's as much his barbarian ego in a way. You know, like I took it by, you know, I'm the one who claimed Aquilonia, and I didn't need help to do it. As much as that, as it is, I think, love for Aquilonia in his own way. Like he has come to love this second homeland of his.
Yeah.
And he sees it as, I'm not going to let you kind of treat it like a toy. It's mine. You can't have it. In a way. And the thing is, I just like how Zaltatun ends up telling him, you know, you can't even fight me because, you know, I didn't even use a weapon to fight you and beat you.
Yeah.
And you have Conan. Well, he tells Conan, coldness so cold it burnt your flesh like white hot iron. And, you know, by the end of his little monologue, his spiel about how he's so much superior to Conan and how he, you know, he's bragging about all his accomplishments. You have Conan who just glares at him. And yet there's a chill that runs along Conan's spine.
Yeah, I mean, Xaltatun obviously is very powerful. I mean, the whole plague thing, I mean, he could just unleash a plague on Aquilonia.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. This is a serious foe who is not just, you're going to fight with basic steel immediately. It's yeah, he's he's definitely put in his place here by Xaltatun, saying, you war against more than swords.
what's also notable, real quick, is that Zaltutun's voice is described as, I think, a golden voice, which so apparently he has a magnificent James Earl Jones voice. I'm just saying, like, he's supposed to be a deep, beautiful voiced man in a way. And this is,
I mean, Conan even says here, like, that he sensed an inexplicable something about him that set him apart, an alien aura of time and space, a sense of tremendous and sinister antiquity. So he recognizes that. But he recognizes that there's something, that this is way more dangerous than your average villain.
And then Zaldatun tries to suck up to him in a way. Not so, you would not have led a charge into it. You would have suspected a trap. You would never have crossed a river in the first place until you were sure the Nemedian route was real. Now, I'm saying that he's sucking up in a way, but it seems like Zaltatun has taken the measure of Conan and knows how smart he is. And despite his arrogance, he's kind of respecting Conan in a way. On the other hand, this scene has shades of, in a way, it's also reminiscent of the confrontation between some of the heroes of the War of the One Ring with Saruman near the end, or the middle, I forget what it is, but they meet in a war tent, and Saruman tries to smooth talk, maybe not a war tent, but he tries to smooth talk some of them. And you got, Gandalf, who warns them, he's got a very beautiful voice, like he can talk anyone into anything. Don't trust him, don't listen to him. And they almost get swept away by Saruman's voice. And Zaltatun seems to be trying to do that with Conan, but I think here he doesn't realize just how stubborn Conan is. And that, in a way, Conan, I'm going to go so far as to say, like, Saruman may be the most eloquent, one of the most eloquent villains in fiction. One, not the most, but one of them. But I don't think he would have any effect on Conan. Conan does not heed the counsel of others. Conan follows his own third eye, so to speak. He follows his own judgment. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you can't talk Conan into anything or out of anything. Conan follows his own will, not that of others.
Yeah, though I do think his friends give him some good advice. So he does take it, like Prospero, Trocero, Palantides. He probably takes that under advisement, definitely.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I just mean, like, if someone's his avowed enemy, he's not going to listen to them. And at the same time, Conan is his own man. He does what he thinks is best. Yes, he'll take advice. He'll take it under advisory, but it's ultimately Conan's decisions. And then you have here. I like how you have Zaltatun. You're a bad enemy, but might make a fine vassal. Conan spat savagely at the word. That's the ultimate insult to his mind.
One thing I'm noticing interesting is that Zaltatun pretty much said, "Yeah, I'm aware you could have won that battle, but I factored in your intelligence." He thinks he knows everything about Conan that he needs to know. Whereas Conan, even in this state, he is studying Zaltatun and how Zaltatun thinks. Because he knows in order to be able to conquer him, I need to be able to listen to his screwy logic. Whereas Alton is like, oh, I beat him. I know everything I need to know about him. I don't have to learn more.
Well, I guess it's a bit like a preening. Yeah. It's like it's like a preening Egyptian cat meeting, I guess, something like a savannah lion or a wolf, with Conan basically being the lion or wolf, just kind of studying the other animal and looking for some sort of weakness. Yeah. And yeah, this bit about the vassal, though, that really gets Conan going.
You did not just go there.
Yeah, well, Zeltaton did.
Yeah. He doesn't know him that well, it seems, if he thinks Conan will take a vassalship.
Yeah. I think Fafaman could have told Zeltaton, yeah, he'll never agree to it. Yeah. Zeltaton, though, is arrogant beyond measure. Let's see. It's also, to go to Lord of the Rings real quick again, it's reminiscent of when the mouth of Sauron says, so can I have the sword of Anduril, please? Essentially, you have Aragorn. You try, you die. And you have your guy, okay, that's not. This sword was forged in the deeps of time, Aragorn tells him. And the mouth of Sauron retreats because he's not going to push Aragorn. But he obviously didn't know Aragorn well enough if he thought that, he could somehow talk him into giving him the sword. It's a similar situation in a way. And, well, similar, but very, very different, because Aragorn's not a prisoner. Although his army might be wiped out by Sauron's at that moment. But I like how you have Conan who tells Zeltaton, what are these but words? The raggedest beggar in the street might prophesy as much. If you say you saw all that in the glass ball, then you're a liar as well as a knave, of which last there's no doubt. Prospero will hold Tarantia, and the barons will rally to him. Trocaro of Poitin commands the kingdom in my absence, and he'll drive these Nemedian dogs howling back to their kennels. What are 50,000 Nemedians? Aquilonia will swallow them up. They'll never see Belverus again. It's not Aquilonia which was conquered at Valkia. It was only Conan.
Yeah, I guess the point, he's showing Aquilonia's doom here from the crystal ball.
Yeah.
I guess it's just trying to psychologically get him to accept defeat. Yeah, accept defeat and take the vassalship or do whatever Xaltatun wants. But obviously, Conan goes against that.
We also see a contrast between Conan and Zeltaton. Zeltaton sees his allies as a little more than an extension of himself.
Yeah.
He doesn't truly trust them. There's pawns to get rid of. Conan, some of his most loyal vassals, he trusts them. He knows what they can do.
And if this was any other fight, they would, I don't think they would be able to conquer even in this state. I think Conan is right here. They would be able to hold, but the problem is, as we discussed, Xaltatun has the plague and everything else at his disposal. So so it would always go the way of the defeat, so to speak. So there's no choice here. And then I guess that's what Conan is kind of failing to understand still at this point, that it is lost. Like we understand where he's coming from. If this was a normal fight, they would absolutely have a chance at stopping Nemedia. But like we know, and like Xaltatun tries to tell him, it's not only swords you're fighting against. Like it's over. Like, you can't defeat me.
And yeah, and you have
Aquilonius doomed, answered Saltatune, unmoved. Like here he says, Lance and Axe and Torch shall conquer her, or if they fail, powers from the Dark of Ages shall march against her. It's like, like the powers of darkness will march against. Like it's over.
Yeah, to quote Spaceballs, because good is dumb.
Well, I mean, maybe not. That's maybe not the point of dumb. It's just there's such a huge magic power here.
Yeah, I was just cracking a joke and making a reference to the Dark Helmet.
Yeah, there's no really not a guy standing against here on the same level.
Yeah, and I just like how Conan's answer ultimately becomes, if my hands were free, I'd soon make a brainless corpse out of you.
Yes. It's like iterating the same point.
Yeah, and I like I have Zaltatun. I do not. Now, this is where Zaltatun seems a little more. Okay. I think he's realizing he can't talk this guy into anything at the moment. I do not doubt it. If I were fool enough to give you the opportunity.
Yeah.
But the way they talk is also very different. Conan is very upfront.
Defiant.
Yeah, defiant. Yeah. And very...
Saltatune is pragmatic.
Yeah.
He's very pragmatic in here.
Yeah. The way I almost imagine the scene, for me at least, is like Conan reeling in his chains, but you have Zaltatune is almost lounging in his chair, very relaxed.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
So you have this cultural difference as well, which is very, 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 very fascinating.
It also goes back to the point that Saltatune doesn't see him as a threat at all. He's just lounging. Yeah. Like, yeah, you could do that, but you won't, because I have the power.
Yeah,
I'm in charge.
Like he's discussing the weather.
Yeah, exactly. He's like,
and this will be his undoing.
And this is where we get to the interesting part, which I was talking about, the lore drop of the, if someone didn't know, but since I've researched a bit, it's interesting, but Saltatune becomes kind of impatient. He obviously wants to do something else, and he's like, yeah, let's get rid of Conan here. I'll take him to his cage. And so Saltatune can take the Black Lotus, or dust from the Black Lotus? Pollen,
yeah.
Yeah, black dust. And this is where Conan recognizes that this is something that black wizards or dark wizards use, like death. It creates a death-like sleep and monstrous dreams, and he knew that only the grisly wizards of the Black Ring, which is the nadir of evil, voluntarily seek the scarlet nightmares of the Black Lotus to revive their necromantic powers. Now, the Black Ring is something that Thoth Amon became the master of. He later on found it and used it. It was basically his power. Like the heart of Ahriman is the power of Saltatune. The Black Ring is the power of, or the one that magnifies his power to exponentially, like crazy. So I thought that just was interesting. I didn't remember this part. The name drop of the Wizards of the Black Ring. That's like a reference to Thoth Amon here.
And we get the direct reference of Stygia and the knighted domes of accursed Sabbatea.
Yeah, exactly where Thoth Amon is from. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really, really nice lore drop info.
Yeah.
I like it.
That's two. Like I loved seeing that. I was like, yes, Stygia.
Yeah, that was great.
And I guess you could say, according to Grimdark, half off, the Black Ring is what really gave Fa-Fam-Man the legitimacy to claim the title of Snake Pope. I always like that call him Snake Pope.
Yeah, well, yeah, he basically makes himself the Grand Wizard, or the Wizard Lord, or whatever you want to call him, over all the others. But that is interesting. That I wonder how much he has to do this, Xaltatoon. How much does he have to do this Black Lotus thing to revive his necromantic powers, to keep him like in full strength, to keep him, or does he see in these nightmares of the Black Lotus? Does he see like visions from his god, from Set, or like? Does it speak to him in a way, or is it? I just wondered. That's an interesting lore part of the whole thing.
Yeah,
of his character.
Death like sleep and monstrous dreams.
Yeah.
So obviously, he's. How I might describe it is that what Xaltatoon is kind of doing to himself is torture.
Oh no! Did you freeze? Unfreeze. Well, hello, chat. If there's someone there. We are alone for the time being. So let's talk about it. No, but what I was saying was, I think this is a very interesting part. One of my favorite parts in this chapter specifically. The Black Ring part. Death like sleep and monstrous dreams. Nightmares of the Black Lotus. Oh yeah, Lord of Lake. Yeah. Give me the news. Sounds very interesting. If you want to at this point. But like what I was saying, like I'm curious about these necromantic powers here. The monstrous dreams, death like sleep. Like does he communicate with Set or with evil spirits? Is he being taught here in this through the Black Lotus, or the revival of his necromantic powers? Like, is there more that goes on here, or what does go on here? Like, I think that was a really interesting part. Yeah. We already know that Jim Sub will be writing the Conan stories for Titan, with Robert De La Torre doing art. Yes, we do. Which is also interesting here is that the Black Ring was a fable and a lie to most folk of the Western world, but Conan knew of its ghastly reality and its grim votaries who practiced their abominable sorceries amid the black walls of Stygia, the nighted domes of cursed Sabbatea. And it's interesting that it's considered a lie or unheard of, but it's actually true. With Dan Badon today, and he confirmed he will not only be doing the variant cards for that run, but he will be writing his own stories for Titan. Oh, interesting. What's Dan Panosian done specifically? Let's see. He's been at Marvel Dark Horse, Boom Studios, Dynamite. Right. Okay. Yeah, he's done Savage Sword of Conan as well. Interesting. Yeah, I saw he worked on Savage Sword. Yeah, I definitely recognize the name Dan Panosian. I've definitely seen his name. Let me look at some of the covers. Yeah, he does a good Conan, definitely. That's yeah, definitely a great Conan. So you're saying he's doing a Conan run, or Lord of Lek, that he's doing or some other character, or that he's doing specifically Conan, or is that up to the air? Like, what character he's gonna write? As we wait for the brother screen here, take a nice break. All right, interesting. He's doing his own Conan stories. So is that gonna be like? Well, you might not know. Probably it's probably under wraps. But is it like? How would you say? Like in canon or in continuation, or is it like an Elseworld storyline? Or no, probably it would be like the Savage Sword of Conan, like Marvel had, and then the flagship series, Conan the Barbarian, and then other runs as well simultaneously, probably. Right, original. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Oh, the adaptations as well. Yeah. How do you guys feel in the chat? Like, do you want adaptations yet again? I mean, awesome adaptations are awesome, but like one could argue that the best adaptations have already been made of the classic Conan stories. So is it like, do we want more of that, or because like we have already the classic Marvel adaptations, we have the Dark Horse adaptations, we have the Ablaze adaptation, the newest ones of adaptations. Like we basically already have the best of every world of adaptation of the classic, or of all of the Robert E. Howard stories. We have them in black and white. I think most of them. We have them in color. We have them with the best of the writers and artists. Do we want more adaptations of the classic stories, or do we, like, for me, I'm kind of leaning to the let's go forwards, like maybe adaptations of novels like Conan the Great and stuff like that.
All right.
Yeah, Lord of Lek. Yeah, I agree. I'm more with you on this. Hello, welcome back.
Yeah.
To the brother screen. How's the connection? Still choppy, I see.
Yeah.
We're very choppy waters.
Yeah.
I didn't catch that. Write in private chat if you have something to say. If it's too choppy, write in private chat. Well, it seems it's not as choppy as anymore.
Okay. There.
No, I was at the Black Ring. The Black Ring.
Yeah, but I thought you were. Well.
No, I was talking about a different thing as well here. So we can jump back into that Black Ring because it's interesting.
Yeah, the Black Ring. I lost my train of thought actually. So
well, I'm gonna say I can say what I was talking about. I'm interested here in the lore thing is that is he being taught in the Black Lotus? Is he learning new stuff from evil spirits inside of this Black Lotus thing that he's being revived in these necromantic powers in these dreams, or is Seth talking to him, or what is happening with him? That's what I find like interesting here, like what is happening during these trances and stuff like that.
I know you said earlier that it seems he might be communing in a way with Set, and I wonder if the grisly, monstrous dreams and nightmares that Fafaman and the Black, what is it, the Black Wizards? No, the Grisly Wizards of the Black Ring and Zaltatun expose themselves to. I wonder if, well, they're basically, I think that they're probably trying to commune with Set in a way, but they're also, in a way, hopping themselves up, kind of like drug addicts in a way. But
because they must have learned from somewhere.
Yeah,
I mean, you can only learn so much from the books. I would think at some point he must like learn from evil spirits or communication with Set and stuff like that. I mean, I would figure that.
Yeah,
would be an point.
The next thing that's interesting is that the language used with the palace of King Tarascus seemed a shadowy, nighted place that shunned natural illumination. I don't know if it, like what you think of. It took me back a little to the Shadow Kingdom. A little. Like, when Cole and Brule are going around after dark, trying to find and hunt down the Snake Men, it kind of took me back to that, where the Shadow Kingdom shows kind of like the point of light that's defending Volusia from the kind of shadows that Zaltatun exudes in a way. It's Cole and even Brule. And yet here we see what the palace would be like if, maybe not the Snake Men, but the worshippers of Set had one. At least that's what I ended up thinking here. That it's a place of nightmares.
Yeah. I didn't think of the Shadow Kingdom part, but so I don't really have a thought about that. But
okay.
But that is an interesting thing. Like if it takes it to a different level, like even in like spiritually, that does he like go to a different place? Like that's an interesting idea as well.
Just gonna. Oh, real quick, some unreleased news I thought you might be interested in.
That's what I went through with Lord of Lek here while you guys were gone.
I can't see the old chat right now. What was the news?
Oh, the news was just the Dan Panosian, a comic artist and writer, is doing a Conan series for Titan Comics. He's writing a series. Like there's going to be the flagship one, but there's going to be another one with Dan Panosian. He's going to be writing and I assume also the art.
Mm-hmm.
You can look him up on Google.
What's his name?
Dan Panosian.
Panosian.
I'll write it down. Wrote it in the private chat.
Okay, Panosian. All right. Thank you. I'll look him up.
Yeah, it's interesting news.
I always learn new things when streaming with you.
Yeah, this seems to be a very fresh news from the Conan world.
Okay.
So very cool. Thanks for the news, Lord of Lek.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lord of Lek. You're always such a joy because you always bring so much news and information. And we got Ares Aurelian, who's a regular. He's great. I love this original Conan soundtrack automatically starts playing. That
low drums in the dark.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, they are back. Or not. I think she's commenting on how Dan and I were lost for a minute there. But those who wander are not always
in the
lost.
abyss.
Yeah. The black abyss into
it was like
the
it was like the Wizards of the Black Ring, just
trying to take out the brothers Kryn. But thanks to the magic of the world of Conan, we're back.
Exactly.
But anyways,
well, it's not much else that happens, but I like we were talking, I just thought this was very interesting. The whole Black Ring part, the whole how does his power work? How does Xaltatune's power work? That I just find interesting. Like that would be cool to know more about. Then I guess it's just also interesting that Conan recognizes this and about the Black Ring and talks about the Black Ring, that it's usually regarded as a fable or a lie to most folk of the Western world, but Conan knew of its ghastly reality and its grim votaries who practiced their abominable sorceries amid the black walls of Stygia and the nighted dooms of accursed Sabbatea, which would hint that he had dealings with Thothamon, more dealings with Thothamon in stories that were never told, that he had seen these horrible things.
The next paragraph, weather and up to demons, that part reminded me of the Shadow Kingdom. But to scale it back real quick, to the previous page, at least in my edition, I like the "Consider what I have told you, barbarian," said Xaltatun. "You will have plenty of leisure. I have not yet decided what I shall do with you. It depends on circumstances yet unborn. But let this be impressed upon you, that if I decide to use you in my game, it will be better to submit without resistance than to suffer my wrath." And for one thing, I think it's interesting that Howard used wrath rather than wrath. Like, just, I know it's a very simple difference, but you'd have WRATH he chose instead of the older WROTH, which Howard has used wrath a few times, like the O instead of the A few times in other stories. And so he sometimes uses them interchangeably. Sometimes he sometimes chooses one or the other. I'm just noting, I thought that was a little interesting that he chose A instead of O this time.
Right.
And but on the other, so what I would say is that Xaltatun is starting to learn a bit more of this, I'll say, modern language, but the Nemedian tongue, so to speak. I think they're talking the Nemedian tongue. But that said, it's also pretty interesting that he's still insistent on the vassal idea and using Conan. Like, even with his parting words, he's like, "I'm going to use you, and you had better submit. Next time I come by, you're gonna be a good little boy and do what I tell you." And that's that's really, really funny how he's still determined to treat Conan as a slave and not an equal, underestimating him even to the last minute there.
Yeah, well,
I think I thought.
The mentality would be more Conan. Oh, I'll submit my sword in your gut.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Xaltatun is over 2,000 years old and full of dark sorceries, so I guess he thinks it's how this should go. He's not really worried.
Let's see.
Then they just haul Conan to his place of captivity, basically.
Right, to the prison.
Yeah, the prison.
And it's a black
dungeon.
slave.
Yeah, dungeon. He's taken by slaves.
The guards / slaves chain Conan here, and Conan is not exactly keen on this, and one of them actually comments, "This your palace now? None but, well, White Dog King," which does not sound very nice, but or polite, I should say. "None but master and we know. All palace sleep, we keep secret. You live and die here, maybe, like him," and kicks a shattered skull, which is a very grim image. I really like this scene. It was like it was a very chilling scene that has you going, ooh, things are, like, this is the lowest point. This is how is Conan going to come back from this? How is he going to, like, it almost reminded me of the I think my bookmark from later in the book fell out, but like I almost saw the "to be continued" thing, like,
because this is not a very complicated end of a chapter. It's something very simplistic, like you toss the hero in prison. If you try to break out, you're going down.
But on the other hand, as much as it's very simple, sorry to interrupt, the kicking of a shattered skull and the way the scene is shaped is far grimmer, darker, and more chilling than any other author has ever done. And you truly get the sense of a medieval oubliette, in a way. That is to say, almost a pit in the ground, which men were tossed into to be forgotten.
And that's the thing about Howard. It could be a very simple scenario that everyone uses, and he does it far grander.
Yeah.
Without having to over-exaggerate like many other authors would do.
Yeah. To an extent. And yet, in a way, Tolkien, for example, would over-exaggerate to an extent. But on the other hand, Howard approaches that kind of grandness at the same time. Like, this is such a grand, magnificent scene. And this is just, man, I really like this scene because of just how bone-chilling it is. It takes you back to classic horror in a way, and like, or a thriller.
I just like the ending here. It's like the slave comes too close with the taunting, and Conan basically just headbutts him to oblivion, and then the other guys just same thing happened before on the job. Let's take this guy and just take him outside and move on. Just like, I thought that was kind of funny. I thought it was funny. They didn't really care. There was like, yeah, this is Steve. He does this all the time. This happens every day. Basically, we're gonna take him outside now
like,
and let him sleep it off.
Darn it, Steve! You nearly got brained again.
You got your head caved in again. Come on, bro. You always gotta carry you around everywhere. It's like, I thought that was a pretty good ending to the chapter.
It was.
You
have Steve for one thing, probably. Nice name, but you have Steve probably like, I almost got him this time. But what I also think of there is that
just leave him.
It's that here Conan's not so subtly telling them, I'm beaten but not subdued. You know, like, you haven't fully conquered me. You've merely,
yeah.
You know, like,
I mean, he came way too close to him. Like,
yeah,
he's a captured animal, like Xaltatoon said. Like, I mean, Xaltatoon said, like, you would probably kill me, but I'm not going to give you that chance. But this guy clearly doesn't have the same amount. So he gave the chance for Conan.
Like they essentially have a caged lion, and the one slave just came in and taunted a bit too close, and the lion just
he went to poking it
and mauled him.
Yep.
And yet Steve lives to tell the tale.
Yeah, that's a lesson for you kids. Do not poke the bear.
Yeah.
Or the savage 6 foot something
barbarian king.
Yeah, who can probably easily snap people like twigs. I mean, in that one story, he does snap a guy's head like a twig. So.
Oh yeah.
Which Balpetor or what's his name? Was it? I can't remember which tale was it now. But anyways,
yeah.
But so final thoughts. That was some good chapters here.
Yep.
Yeah. I kind of prefer the third chapter because of the battle and the descriptions of the battle. So that was very interesting, and the fight in the tent was good and great.
Yeah.
I think that takes my precedence for the third chapter, even though the fourth chapter had the very interesting Black Ring lore drop, basically, and good interaction between Xaltatoon, but I don't know. It's still I think the third chapter for me.
I think
was the better one.
Well, I like Xaltatoon trying to psychologically break Conan with, like showing him the crystal ball and the images. That's clearly meant to try to psychologically snap Conan and beat him down and break him into being a good, proper little puppy for Xaltatoon. But much as I typically prefer psychological kind of chapters or stories, and I typically would probably like something like chapter 4 more, but I have to admit I do prefer chapter 3. There's something to be said about just Conan. He's beaten, but he's refusing to acknowledge it or accept it. He's like, no, I'm gonna gun that guy down. And it was come on, go down with some dignity. No, I don't need dignity. What do I need that for? No,
I'm going to kill him.
It now that I think about it, also kind of reminds me of the following TV series from a few years ago of Kevin Bacon, where you've got one guy who says, if you keep resisting us, I will shoot you. Okay, and I'm going to crack his skull open if he tries to approach me, referring to the guy who captured him's friend. And it's like, but then I'll shoot you and you'll be dead, and his skull will be cracked. But then you'll be dead, and his skull will be cracked. He's just insistent on this one point, that if he's going to go down, he's going to crack the other guy's neck or skull or something. And that's where Conan's got that kind of laser focus, and I love that. I love Conan in chapter 3.
I like chapter 3 because of everything that's going on. I mean, I like my psychological thrillers.
Yeah, they're great.
But there's something about chapter 3 that
steals the show.
This is Conan.
Yeah. But like I said, I think I'm caught between liking that scene where Conan is wanting to gun down the enemy. Well, at least the battle that he against the 3 guys, which he takes down, even though he's basically an invalid, and him saying, "I have no royal blood. I am the son of a blacksmith." I love that line. I love that scene.
Yeah.
I think chapter 3 so far, in my opinion, might be the best chapter we've read so far.
I mean, yeah, that could be. The first and second one is really good, though. The second one, especially with the attack of the Child of Darkness, which is really good. And the first chapter, obviously, with the the resurrection summoning as well.
That chapter was great. Lord of Luck, if you want to report on the news, feel free. If it's relevant to Conan.
Yes.
Okay, so
no, I was just asking him if he's okay with it.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought it was Lord of Luck there. Oh yeah, World of Conan. Yeah, okay, sure. I don't mind. And Lord of Luck. Okay. So you can get in touch with Dan Panosian on Twitter. Okay, I'll have to follow him.
And knowing that Lord of Luck, that you are rereading it in the meantime, go on and give your thoughts as we are analyzing the book.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like if anyone in the chat or even like who watches this on the repeat or whatever,
repeat. Say which chapter is your favorite, what specifically you loved about which chapter, and so on. Like there's a lot of things you can comment on.
Feel free to read along with these streams, because these streams are meant as a bit of a book club, and like for everyone to basically read along.
Yeah, it's a very easy pace as well. Like we have a lot of time to read the chapter, so and so it's not that like hard to keep up. I mean, difficult.
Yeah,
it's not it's very stress free here.
Yeah, that's the goal.
It's not like 5 chapters every other day or something.
No, I couldn't keep up with that.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I mean.
There's a reason that going forward, we're going to keep up with this pace of just 2 chapters a stream, and I think
it's pretty good. Like there's a lot of stuff usually in both chapters. Like there's a lot of, stuff to delve into.
So much stuff that happens in just like you look at these 2 chapters. I only took a few notes for chapter 3 and took a lot more notes for chapter 4, and it's almost, what is it? We ended up discussing each chapter almost for an hour, and that's just like the fact that there's an hour's worth of content per chapter is just it makes me grateful for these live streams, because if Dan and I were doing this in podcast form, there'd be so much that we wouldn't be able to cover, we wouldn't be able to touch upon, and there's a lot that we don't, and it's like these live streams allow us to expand on.
No, this is fantastic. It's a great thing to talk about this in detail. I love it.
Yeah,
and you know what? It is good to get back into the classics. I mean, there are details alone that we might miss, and a good discussion might get us to think
more. Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But I think we had discussed our next stream might be Sword and Sorcery because the director had recently passed. I think you said in the community tab post and in one video, and that's definitely a movie you had recommended before.
Yeah, prior.
Yeah, you had recommended it and said you wanted to do, I think, a stream of that, Conan the Destroyer at some point, and a lot of other Sword and Sorcery movies, which
there's a lot of great ones.
Yeah, and I don't mind streaming any and all that you recommend throw our way because
there's a good one. There's the Beastmaster, there's Krull, as well as called the Conqueror. But there's Krull as well, and then there's Fire and Ice, which has art by Frank Frazetta, the foremost Conan artist. His own fantasy story, imagine.
Ooh,
and
cool.
it's animation from the 80s.
Ooh,
from the same guy.
It's
from the same guy who did Lord of the Rings, Ralph Bakshi.
Oh, I love Ralph Bakshi.
Yeah, it's the same director.
In my animation course.
It's his movie.
Definitely going to want to take a look in that.
Yeah, he's brilliant, actually.
Yeah. The only sad part was they cut out so much out of that movie. It would be so awesome if we could get the extended editions at some point. It's like an hour and a half, I think, the movie. It's very short, or hour and 20 minutes. But it was at the beginning. It was like 3 hours. It was meant to be a really epic movie. So there's a lot of stuff, unfortunately, that was cut away. It's so sad because there's a lot of stuff in the world I would think you could expand on. Frank. It's Frank Frazetta's fantasy story, basically, or his art. I think it was his idea. So we'll definitely do that movie as well. It's really cool, really unique as well, with the rotoscope, the style of Ralph Bakshi doing fantasy. So it's really, really cool.
Yeah, that does sound really cool. Oh man, if I could have gotten Ralph Bakshi doing Conan, like the Hour of the Dragon or something, that'd be neat.
There's actually an interesting Conan animation, just a short one. I think is it 5 minutes long? Let me see. Conan animation. I think it was. Oh, it was just 2 minutes, I think, but it's still really cool. Let me throw you the link here in the private chat. If you haven't seen this is a really cool.
We haven't seen it. I know for a fact, just because this is the first I hear of a Conan animation. I'll just partially open it up.
It was kind of like Ralph Bakshi's, but you can imagine what it could be like a Ralph Bakshi Conan the animated, but it's not exactly like his style, but closer, I would say.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a look at it probably tomorrow, and that way, we're not taking up people's time here on the stream.
Yeah.
But it looks cool. I'll say that. Just Conan the animated. Oh man.
I put it in chat as well if someone wants to.
Oh yeah, thank you. Here, I'll Oh, I thought you had put it in the public chat.
Yeah, I put it in public chat. By the way, you should probably mod me in your chat. That way I can put links, you can actually click on them.
Yeah. Oh, right, mod you. Okay, how do I do that?
No, that's a good question. Probably. Probably something you click on my name or something. You just don't ban me.
No, never.
Maybe. Something like that.
I'll ban myself first.
Oh, that's interesting. A lot of like 6-part animated Conan from Dark Horse. Wow, that's very
really. I'll just quickly show this, and so I need to mod you for you to share links. All right.
Yeah.
I think I have to go into settings. I'm going to do this right now. Permissions. Is that it? Close. Hold on. Manager. Oh, no. That's not it. Okay. How does this work?
All right. Yeah. These are the.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, I know these animation from Dark Horse. Yeah, they're like what's it called again? Like kind of like live comic book. I forgot what the name was. It's it's not much animated. It's a bit animated. I forget what it's called. It has a name that's
YouTube Studio. Okay, community. So it's community, and I have to go to from the automated filters.
Yeah, motion comics. Yeah, that's right, Lord.
What's automated filters?
Motion comics. Which probably some are good, some are not. But yeah, we can do the mod thing later. Let's just let's not take
out it. Figured it out. Save.
Oh, okay.
There. Settings saved. I think you can now share that link. And oh yeah, motion comics. You could try right now. Sorry for taking up people's time there.
Yep, it works.
All right, show. Yep. And let's show it to everyone in Sundry. Perfect. So figured out how to make people mods. Yay.
Yeah, that's great. Gotta show me that as well.
Okay. You have to go to the community tab. I'll probably take a screenshot later and share it with you. Actually, let me see if I can find it again. And I'll screenshot it right now. And I'll send that to you after the stream. Screenshotted. Yeah. But yeah, like, I don't know if I've got anything more to add about Conan or Hour of the Dragon right now.
No, me neither. Like, it was a great stream.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you guys. It was awesome, and we'll definitely have to check what date to do the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think about when we do. We're trying to find it as well. Don't know where I placed it.
And of course, you'll be hosting the movie and the next Hour of the Dragon stream.
Oh yeah.
Because we go back and forth. And I'll just quickly plug. I know we share a lot of our audience are shared, but for anyone who's not yet subscribed to your channel, I would actually encourage everyone to go subscribe to World of Conan. I believe I put your channel's link in the description of the stream. So
yeah,
hurry over there and subscribe. World of Conan has one of the best Conan channels out there.
Yeah, I forget to put the links sometimes in the videos. That's just me forgetting. It's not.
No, we forget as well. We forget as well. Here, I'll actually just quickly make sure that I did put it in, because let me just mute this and let me see. Yes, I did put it there. Whew.
Yep.
Sorry about that. My clumsy moment. But And if anyone's watching who's not yet subscribed to our channel as well, smash that subscribe button.
Subscribe and like, share, and all of that good stuff all around.
Yep. To both channels.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, yep. Especially stay tuned for that next stream of Sword and Sorcery.
Yeah, we're going to do that. And then we're going to do the chapters 5 and 6 of the Dragon Hour. So anyone who hasn't read up to now, you come later, just catch up. It's not many chapters. It's not a lot of reading, so to speak. So,
and the chapters read relatively quickly because of how great and well written they are.
Yeah, definitely.
You will lose track of time when reading.
Yeah. And comment below all of your suggestions and what you thought about these chapters.
Yeah.
Or even the earlier chapters, but you can also comment on the former video your thoughts on those. So definitely talk to us, people.
Yep.
We love to see your replies, your points of views.
Yep. And we do read the comments section fairly religiously.
Yeah.
So, anyways, take care, everyone. And
thank you all. Hail Conan and the Barbarian Horde.
Hail Conan.
Hail